taking a deep dive into matters of technology, and we're having a look at GDG, Google Developer Groups, which of course does curate events and agendas that suit the need of local developer communities. And one of those organized all around the world is Devfest, GDG Devfest. I'm having here a detailed conversation on this and much more of developer communities and what happens in and around GDG with Rachel Kimberly and Thabita Kaviu, who are GDG representatives, and they're going to be telling us exactly what we can look forward to on the November 5th as they organize that in Nairobi, Kenya. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
I have to admit I'm not much of a dev, but I know one or two things about tech. So I'm going to do a layman sort of conversation, of course, to make sure that kila mtu ambaye ana tune in, even an upcoming dev who is watching us from Turkana, Garissa, Kisii, Mombasa, can get to know exactly how to be involved with GDGs and also how to get to participate in Devfest. But before we get into all of that technical conversation, I think I'll allow you guys to introduce yourselves and maybe just a little intro in the local community which you're involved in and what goes on around there. I'll start with you.
All right, I'm Thabita Kaviu. Like he rightly mentioned, I am a representative at GDG Nairobi. GDG is Google Developer Groups Nairobi. And I am an event organizer, so basically helping around organize events for GDG Nairobi.
All right.
Hi, thank you. So my name is Kimberly Nsabeni, or others call me Kemi, whichever is easier. First of all, I'm a UI UX developer. I do designing and front-end development. Besides that, I am a member and an organizer at GDG Nairobi, and as well as an ambassador at Women Tech Makers.
All right. Google Developer Groups, are they developing for Google or are they developing for themselves? Is Google organizing these developer groups, or is it the overall organization? How can you explain it to a random Kenyan who has no idea of the world of developers?
Okay, so Google Developer Groups are basically communities, and a community is a group of people that come together and have a common interest. So for Google Developer Groups, these are communities of individuals that have different types of skills, maybe from beginner level to intermediate to experts. And the goal of these people is to come together to learn and develop on Google technologies, but they're not exactly limited to them. But the major focus is mostly on Google technologies, which are Android, machine learning and web development.
Mm-hmm. So to be in one of these communities, you have to be a dev, basically, or can you have just a tech wannabe who's interested in the world of developers get into one of those?
Yeah, I mean, like I rightly mentioned, so communities have different sets of people. So sometimes you get into a community when you don't know what exactly you want to do. Mm-hmm. But once you get in there, you meet different people that are doing something that interests you, mm-hmm. and you get on board. So you could be a tech wannabe that you want to get on board. Mm-hmm. So, and along the journey, you get to become a developer, I'd say, because you're going to learn. The major goal is for you to learn and connect with people that have the same interests as you, mm-hmm. and with that you get to grow. Mm-hmm. So it is always that mantra: learn, connect, grow.
Okay. Kimberly, you are in GDG Nairobi. Did you become a UI UX developer in this community, or is this something you needed to have before you joined?
Well, me being a UI UX developer is something that I learned aside the community. Mm-hmm. However, me being part of the community has taught me other things aside being technical, things like being able to organize events, things like being able to meet other developers and network with other developers, which actually eventually led me to being able to be a Women Tech Makers ambassador.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to get into Women Tech Makers, which is also happening during that Devfest. But what is Devfest? Now that we already tackled GDG and we know it's a community of developers building on Google's technologies, what then is Devfest and how separate, or how is it part of GDG?
Okay, so Devfest are annual developer conferences that happen all over the world every year, and mostly during this time. So in the tech space, we call this the Devfest season. I mean, they all period from September to sometime in December. And I mean, I think what I can say for you to simply understand it, you know, like how when it's end of the year and different groups have different events, maybe
children's home visits,
you know,
things like those. Yeah.
maybe influencer awards. So even techies have their own conference. I hear people also have things like Oktoberfest, things like that.
Oh, you hear?
Yeah. So for techies,
So that's like
so it's a time for developers to come together. We call it a festival, but I mean, not like going to be eating the whole time, but the major goal is for people to come together to learn and meet people that maybe you read their articles, people that you've seen from YouTube or maybe Googlers. I mean, because it's a Google developer group, so sometimes you have Googlers coming in to speak. Not even sometimes, most of the time, there are high chances that a Googler comes into Nairobi, or even the Googlers in Nairobi get to speak about different things. And yeah, it's always an opportunity for people to network. And this does not only happen in Nairobi. We have Devfest even in Rift Valley, Western Kenya as well.
Oh, okay.
So the GDGs in Kenya, like around 6. So we have Devfest in Rift Valley, which is coming around sometime in December. We have another one in Kisumu, which is Western Kenya. We have another one in Mombasa as well. So I say just Nairobi is going to happen before all these others get to happen.
Okay.
So this Devfest happen all over the world. We have Devfest in Ghana, in Nigeria.
Are they all happening around the same time?
So
around the world?
this season, like I said, this particular quarter, that's where Devfest happen around. So when you just search Devfest, you'll see different countries or different cities hosting Devfest. Even Tanzania have Devfest. Uganda as well.
Even Tanzania. Do they code in Swahili or? But we'll get to see that. Just maybe ask Kimberly a bit. How does one get to be to join the GDG community? Let's say there's now a dev who's heard about it and they're in Nairobi. How do they get to apply? Do they apply? Is there a process to that?
Well, as Tabi has said, GDG is a community of developers. Like GDG Nairobi is a community of developers in Nairobi. So you might be a developer somewhere in Nairobi. You might be a student who is learning how to code. You might be someone who actually doesn't know how to code, but has genuine interest in learning technology and being a developer. So you can either visit our website at GDG Nairobi. If you just Google GDG Nairobi, if you go to Twitter and Google GDG Nairobi, you will be led to our website where you can join in as a member. And aside just being a member, you can be able to see events, like upcoming events. Like right now, if you go to the website, you'll see that there's Devfest Nairobi. And for you to even attend Devfest Nairobi, you need to RSVP. So it means being a member, you'll be able to network with other people, get access to such events that come up. And being a member means you'll never miss such opportunities, because you'll always actually get emails telling you that, oh, Devfest is around the corner, please make sure you RSVP.
Right. Is there also other things that happen that lead to Devfest as well during this, maybe as you interact in the GDG community in Nairobi, leading towards Devfest?
Can I say that? Okay. Yes. I mean, to add to what she said, the website she's talking about, we have gdg.community.dev. I mean, if you want to look at it, gdg.community.dev, you'll get to see different GDGs all over the world. So if you search for GDG Nairobi, you get to register to become a member of GDG Nairobi. But again, I mean, if you don't want to go through that hassle, you can always go on Twitter at GDG Nairobi and say, oh, I want to be a member of GDG Nairobi. Or you can also be a member by when you see GDG hosting an event, you just register to attend that event, and before you know it, you become a member of the larger community, and every time GDG does events, you get to be a part of them. So to answer your question, so there are different events that happen before Devfest, and like say Devfest happens during this season, but before that, and sometime back in June, we had an event called Google I/O Extended. So we have a global I/O that happens around May, and then for the GDGs now, they get to organize their I/O Extended, like their own version of the
After
major.
I/O has happened.
Exactly. So things that happen in June, and we also have different cloud events. So I mean, basically, GDG gets to host different events during the whole year, but then I guess Devfest is like the major event that everyone looks forward to.
Right.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about Devfest, particularly the one that is happening next month. As you rightly mentioned there's a lot that happens in other communities, including I also hear Oktoberfest. Yeah, it's also one of those things I don't know what's about. But when you hear a festival, you hear fun, right? You hear music, you hear food, interactions, and all of that. And developers are not known to be fun people. Mostly it's I'm sorry, I'm just putting it out there. A stereotype I hear also that it's reserved for geeks and nerds and people who are what do they, introverts, right? So is there much fun that's happening at Devfest?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like people say that developers are not fun, but I think when developers come together, they find their own way of fun. So maybe it may not be fun to you, but for them it is fun. Maybe speaking to someone or them discussing maybe a challenge that maybe they have struggling with. So I don't know. That's not fun. But not all of us are introverts. Actually, I'm not an introvert. Yeah, but it's fun because I think it's an opportunity. Again, like I said before, you get to meet people that maybe you have never met before, or maybe you just get to learn from them, either from Twitter or from YouTube, or maybe read their articles. Maybe those people that you look up to, like your role models. I think there's that, and of course,
fun activities.
There'll be food. There'll be food. There are games. Yeah, there's one particular game that is common to devs. That is Kahoot. So it's. I don't know if
the Kahoot quiz.
Yes, that's fun. I mean,
yeah, it is fun.
There's no fun tech event if there's no Kahoot game involved. So there's that, and I mean, there's food too.
Yeah, food is. I mean, 90% of the fun. So I'll take it.
And I don't want to give spoilers, but I think this year's Devfest, there are going to be some interesting things. I mean, there's going to be a women tech makers breakfast. So.
Let's talk about that actually. Women tech makers breakfast. What do we expect at the Women Tech Makers Breakfast, and what is Women Tech Makers to begin with?
So Women Tech Makers is a community of women, again, in tech, but now this majorly focuses on women, uplifting women in tech, recognizing women in tech, and actually encouraging more women to actually join in tech, because either way, in as much as we're seeing many more women joining tech, the margin is still very broad. And we're just working towards encouraging even more women to join tech, because sometimes you just need that community, being able to see other women make it in tech, being able to see that really encourages you even to know that actually if there are other women who can do this, then I can also do this. So in Women Tech Makers, we have WTM ambassadors. You can be, like for me, I'm a WTM ambassador for Nairobi, but starting 2022, we started having not just ambassadors for different cities and like different universities. You can be an ambassador without even leading a WTM chapter. That means as long as you're an ambassador, then you have an opportunity to either create content for women in tech. You can run a WTM chapter. For example, now we have WTM Nairobi, there's WTM Nyeri, there's WTM Kisumu. You get just the same as GDG, Yeah, so you get to either create content, you get to mentor other women, you get to lead a chapter. That's basically what WTM is. And just like GTG, we also have like events around the year. And even for us, it's very big for Devfest, because we really partner with GTG on Devfest to be able to bring in not just developers, but even women developers, you get. Yeah.
Right. Now, it's November 5th, right?
Yeah.
When Devfest is happening, it's a one-day event. What do we expect from the speakers as well? What kind of speakers are they lined up, and what kind of conversations are going to be pushed during this event?
All right, so we're going to have like a variety of speakers, and some of the speakers are going to be, local engineers, like, developers from Kenya. We also have speakers from different parts of the world that come in to speak and share their knowledge about different things. We also have, Googlers coming in, Googlers either in Nairobi or Googlers from different parts of Africa or even the world coming in to share their knowledge about a particular topic. So, and speaking of topics, we have topics ranging from Android, Firebase, Flutter, AI, IoT, so and so much more. So there are going to be so many technical talks, and not only technical talks, but you're also going to have career talks and maybe even soft skills, because sometimes you don't only need to learn the technical bits. Sure. It's important for you to understand what is happening out there. How do I position myself to start a career in tech and things like that? And I think there's another thing is Devfest are also an opportunity for people to get to hear from Google Developer Experts. So there's a program called Google Developer Experts Program, and these Google Developer Experts are people that have been recognized recognized by Google to have, they have gained so much experience in a particular skill that they have been able to, like, they can share it out to the community or different people. So maybe they invent a tool, or they have courses in which people get to learn from them. So this is also an opportunity for people to hear from this Google developer expert. I mean, an expert. Imagine you being referred to as an expert. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. That's a really big deal.
Yeah. So it's also an opportunity to get to hear from them. And we have experts in Kenya. So we get to hear from experts in Kenya and even experts from different parts of the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big tech is coming through in Kenya in a really big way. Big tech in a big way. We've seen Microsoft setting up offices. We've seen others, including Amazon, also setting up operations all over Africa, as well as in Kenya, Nairobi. Maybe to ask you, Kimberly, are we reaping the benefits of having big tech, and how can we maybe even get more as we go into the future?
Sure, I really think we are actually reaping. Just the other day I was going through LinkedIn and I saw quite a number of students from JKUAT had gotten an opportunity to do internship at Microsoft, which I think is a really good thing now that they're actually sourcing for talent within. I know quite a number of people who have recently joined Microsoft, and it really warms my heart, especially to see women. I will shout out, there's a lady called Joylene Kirui. I don't know, she's really growing up to fame. And I think we're really reaping now that even Google is actually investing. You hear there's Google Developer Students Clubs. That means you actually get to interact with Google technology. It even gives you an opportunity to climb up the ladder. You never know, maybe you might find yourself working at Google Nairobi, So I think we are actually reaping in terms of being able to source local talent. Yeah.
Right. And rightfully so, because I think for a long time we've had many of these devs working remote, or maybe working for local tech companies and not getting the kind of compensation that is, matching up to their skill. And it's important that also puts on pressure to local tech, or we call it small tech now, when we say big tech. Anyway, for someone to come through to Devfest, is there a ticket, and how much is it for a dev or a non-dev, as we also try and wind up the conversation?
I mean, the event is free. You don't get to pay.
Oh, okay.
So what happens, we usually put out applications a little bit earlier, before we get to this particular point in time. So for now, I think we have more than 2,000 RSVPs from different people, and that's a huge number. So
it's still open?
Not really. Not
Oh,
really.
okay.
And then the interesting thing is we put up applications way much earlier, because people always look forward to this at the end of the year.
I see.
And now there are people like, they want tickets. I don't know, maybe
it's like the Tomorrowland for techies, it's sold out.
Yeah, exactly. We are completely sold out. But I think maybe the team is going to see if we can open up more tickets. But if we cannot, then there's always next time, or there are always other ways to catch up with what happened, and maybe some ways we can try and have some of this important highlights on our YouTube channel, GDG Nairobi. So
great.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's it. It's happening on November 5th. We'll get all that information, of course, on social media. I know it will be there. You can keep checking that out, and also try and join the GDG community in the city that is nearest to you. If you're in Nairobi especially, please do reach out to us, and we'll direct you to the relevant people who will guide you on your journey towards joining the developer community. Maybe last word, guys, a parting shot from each of you, especially since you are women in tech, and then something that would excite a young girl out there. I have my sister who's also in JKUAT, a very serious dev. I don't know why she hasn't joined the GDG community. Since she's watching, I'll just address her directly. Talk to her and the rest of her kin who are also into this sort of field and career, and what they can look forward to once they join the community, and also maybe in the world of being a developer, what kind of exciting opportunities they can also get to reap on each of your companies. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll tell not just only women, but even young men who are in campus, especially for someone like me who has just completed campus and graduated, and now having just put my feet in the workforce, I'll just tell them, position yourself for success. There's a lot of opportunity. There's space for everyone. You can't say that there are so many developers or the market is saturated. No, the market is not yet saturated. There's space for everyone. Just position yourself. if you have those clubs like GTSC or Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors, join those communities, learn. If your school has an ICT club, join those communities, because it is in those communities that you get access to things like GDG conferences, and you get to attend such things. I personally started my journey back in 2019. I went to campus. I just had little interest in computers, but I really didn't have the fire for technology until I joined a community called Rails Girls Nairobi, and I got to see, oh, they're actually young men and women who are doing this, and I got to fuel my desire, and that's how I got to meet different people who have led me to different parts of success. So just position yourself, follow the right people, and yeah, you'll be positioning yourself for success.
Right. I mean, Kimberly has said everything, and I'll just add on to what she said about positioning yourself. And how do you position yourself? You position by being part of communities. I also started my journey also started in 2019. I was part of the Google Developer Students Camp in my school. I didn't know anything about what is happening in the tech space out there, because I was just learning computer science in school. But because of being part of these particular communities, I got to learn different things. I got to meet different people, and I got challenged. And even seeing women that, like this person is doing some amazing things, then I think that serves as a motivation that, oh, I can actually do it. And one thing I learned about the tech space, you don't really have to be scared or afraid, because someone is always willing to help. I think we are generous in terms of sharing knowledge. So you don't have to feel intimidated that, oh, I really cannot be part of this particular group because I don't know much. There's always someone that is willing to hold your hand. If you have mentors, maybe they will not mentor you directly, but they're willing to offer support or maybe share resources in any way. So just be part of these different communities. Do not be afraid. And I think being confident, for tech, you just need the skills. Once you have the skills, you start getting the money. Right. And these communities are the places where they are going to connect you to maybe your jobs. And some of us are products of communities, and we are working where we are now because of communities.
Right. Is anyone... Kimberly, maybe you can take this one. Is anyone too old to learn code? Sometimes when I am trying to start my 100 days of coding, I always think, maybe there's some people are way too better now. My sister just started learning coding 3 years ago, and 3 years ago I was also trying to start my 100 days of coding. To date, I haven't. And maybe is it ever too late? There's maybe a 35-year-old who's watching the show, 40-year-old, 50-year-old is like, come on. I'll just leave this to 17-year-olds with computers. Is anyone ever too old to learn?
I don't think there's anyone who's ever too old to learn, because I watch stories on YouTube, I see stories on Twitter that someone started coding at 35, someone started coding at 40. I don't think there's anyone who's too old. I think the only thing is how your kind of perspective on how you want to tackle this, and maybe just understanding yourself. What kind of learner are you? I mean, if you're at 35 years, then you probably understand yourself a little bit better. You know that if I take this approach to learning, then I'll be able to get to a certain place. Again, positioning yourself with the right kind of people. Personally, I'm one who easily learns through accountability and bringing people. Like, I usually have a tactic when I want to learn something new. Like this year, I got into UI UX just a couple of months ago. Before that, I used to code in Ruby on Rails. So I kind of, when you finish school and you're in that place of trying to figure out where you actually fit, because tech is wide. Yeah, you see, we are going to have web, you're going to have cloud, you're going to have machine learning. So tech is wide. And one thing about, and not just in tech, even in the world, if you're working in something you don't love,
you won't really do it
with the zeal and I'm a perfectionist, so I always want things to go in the right direction. So you see, if you're doing something you really don't love, then you won't have good results. So it's just the journey of trying to find out what is my calling, what should I be doing actually in this tech, because not everyone in tech codes, not everyone others are just like community managers, project managers, product managers, and they're all in tech. So I started my journey. I decided, okay, I think I'm more of a creative. So yes, I love to code in Ruby, but I don't feel the zeal and the energy. So I was like, okay, someone pointed to me, no, you're creative. I think you'd really make a good UI UX designer and a front-end dev. So I sat down and thought, maybe I should try these things, because this year I've done a lot of things. I've done Python, I've done cybersecurity. I even have a certification as a security analyst, but it's not what I want, right. So I decided, okay, so I'm gonna try this one more thing this year. I'm gonna go into UI UX. So I sat down and said, okay, I'm going to recruit a community of people who want to learn, you know. So I just put it on LinkedIn, I put it on Twitter, and said, okay, so I want to learn UI UX. Anyone who wants to learn with me, trust me, I got like 100 RSVPs, and I was like, okay, I thought I would get like 5 people, we'd just become accountability partners, but then I realized, no, I have 100 people. What do I do with these 100 people, you know? So I was like, okay, so I curated a like, you know how in school you're usually given, what's this called? Curriculum. So I was like, okay, so we're going to do this for 12 weeks. These are 3 months. What are we going, what do I need to do introduction, and then after introduction, do I need to have
a whole course outline?
Yeah, I did a whole course outline, my friend, and I was the teacher, and I don't know anything. So, you know, I did a 12-week course outline, and then I told these people, okay, so fine, this is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna take weekly tasks. We're gonna take resources for each week. So week 1, we're learning this week, to week 12, and then after every week, we're going to have what do we call this? Tasks. So you've learned, so you've learned you need to do an assignment and do a project. And then at the end of the 12 weeks, we did a project, which was amazing. So you see, for me to be able to learn to the very end, I need accountability. There's no way I could say at week 4, okay, no, I'm done. You know, there are people who are looking for it, and then they're looking up to you like, if Kimberly can do it, why can't I do it? You know, and pushing them and telling them, you know, if you don't submit the first 4 task, you're not going to make it to the second phase, you know. It's just being tactful. And so I don't think there's anyone who is old to learn.
Also, I think I learned now the sense of community there, of course, also as a way to always keep yourself accountable and seeing that other people kama watu wengine wanaendelea, mbona mimi leo niache.
That's really nice. I hear people that are 60 and they are coding. So I mean, it's never too late for anyone to learn. If that's what you want, then I think you have all it takes. The environment is there, the community is there to support you. And I like what she also said. I think it's important for people to know you don't really have to code for you to be in tech. Because people are like, oh, tech. Oh, I can't code. I mean, I'm a community manager. I don't code. I used to code, but I don't code anymore because I figured I really want community. I like connecting people and bringing people together. So they are different. We have community managers. We have UI, UX people, designers. We have product managers. There are cyber security people. So there are different things. So I think that the major thing, if you want to get into tech, do your research. Find out what exactly do you want to be. And then now work towards being good at that particular field that you want to focus on.
A tech bro does not have to code. Is what I hear.
But most of the tech bros code.
Should everyone learn code? Maybe this should be my last question because I have a lot of those coming up. But let me finish with this. There's so much that is moving towards the digital side of life, right? Even commerce, communication, almost every single thing. We just had here KRA also moving digital, services, banking, finance, all of that is all going digital. Is it a must for everyone to know code, or maybe a bit? You see, kama vile kitambo walikuwa nasema kama hujui at least Microsoft Word, PowerPoint na nini, in the future itakuwa ngumu sana. At least the basics. Is code going to be something we need to know as a basic language, as we know how to type on Microsoft Word?
I think that's a cornering question. That's a cornering question. But I think now we have moved up a notch higher, just from knowing Microsoft Word and because now we know we are living in a digital world, and we are not going to escape technology in any way. You see, like right now, if I want to come all the way to KU, I can just order an Uber, and I'm here. I don't have to go and take a matatu and all the way. I just think it's important to understand the digital space. You don't really need to know how to code, but just understand, be aware. Like right now, cybersecurity is a very upcoming field. Just be aware of what is cybersecurity. What should I do to be able to be cyber aware? You know, things like you hear that companies have gone down by an employee having clicked a link in an email they didn't know. So you don't need, as an employee, you don't need to understand what cybersecurity is, but you need to know how to position yourself to be in a safe place in terms of being cyber aware, you know. And I think these are things that not just you can learn by yourself. Things like companies, they can have workshops just to educate people around what is tech, what do I need to be, you know, to understand what is going on around me.
How to interact with the tech I have.
Exactly. And you see things like businesses. Right now, we have e-commerce. People are setting up their shops online. So you need, endelea kuuza vitu zako hapo na all customers are online, my friend. You need to understand this. So you don't actually need to learn how to code, but you need to understand the tech space.
Right.
I think it's good to let people know that it's good to also learn how to code, because once you learn how to code, it pays off. They say there's money in tech.
Yes.
So I'm not saying anything. I'm not, but I think it's a good thing.
It's a good thing to know.
And once you figure out that this is for you, then I promise you're going to enjoy it. So it's good. But if you find out that it does not work for you, then find something else that is going to work for you.
But at least still try and understand what is happening in the world of technology is what I'm getting here from Kimberly and Rachel, who have joined me here on set, GDG representatives from the Nairobi community. Check them out on, if you're going there, that is November 15th, come on, attend Devfest. Fika huko wasalimie. 5th. Yeah. November 5th, yes, November 5th. Venue? Strathmore University. So kama utakuwa ambao watafika huko, say hi to them and also interact, network, and also come through to the show and tell